one's recording. It's another edition of the Shooting USA podcast, special edition live from the Bianchi Cup. Well, it's not really live, but it is something.
Sort of live.
We're alive. We're in the Holiday Inn Executive Center lounge area. This time it is my distinct pleasure to welcome the one and only Julie Golob. Julie Golob is here. Julie Golob is in your ears if you're listening via podcast, and we're on your computer if you're watching us via the internet. Welcome.
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 So it's end of day 2.
Yes.
Things are happening.
Things are.
It's moving day at the Bianchi Cup, if you will.
Yes.
Talk about your experience.
So it's been a while since I've shot this match in open. I usually hang out with you and
Yes.
in the Shooting USA studio to kind of give the blow by blow. So it's been a neat experience getting back into it again. Mm-hmm. So I've shot metallic in the past couple for a couple years, and I was just trying to remember when the last time I shot open was, but it's been a while. Mm-hmm. And it's definitely an eye-opening experience. Just you forget the nerves, the tension, and the entire experience when you've been away from it. Well,
the 4 events still exist. The 4 events are still the same, and They are always going to be a challenge.
Right.
And that then, if those are the constant,
yeah.
What is the variable? The variable is the equipment. The variable is each individual shooter.
Exactly.
And that's what I think makes it interesting.
It is. One thing that makes this event totally different from all of the other matches that we shoot is there is the perfect score. There is that benchmark. And so I'm going into this match thinking, all right, what have I done in the past? What am I capable of now? What are realistic expectations? And you kind of put it all together. I mean, your worst enemy is your mental game in this one, because there are lots of people out there who can shoot a perfect score at the Yankee, but they never manage to do it. So it's one of those things.
But to what extent has the change in the scheduling been any effect, or has it been an effect?
For me personally, it hasn't, because, again, it's been a while since I've shot it, so I'm not used to always shooting the barricade at such and such time, at such and such day.
Right.
So for me, it's not that big of a deal. I think that, one of the things that makes this particular event, the Bianchi Cup, so challenging is because people are used to so many things. And anytime you throw a little change in there,
yes,
you get a little bit of... little pushback, or a little like, whoa, that's not how we've done it before. And so it can change things up. And this match has certainly seen changes over the years.
Well, I mean, full transparency, my initial reaction to this is the new squad matrix, this is the way we are putting people together, and this is how we're going to schedule this match was a little bit startling initially, because I'm used to having each individual competitor on a piece of paper with each individual event for them scheduled, and it is here, this is what time this competitor will be here and here and here. And I like to have those in alphabetical order, so there's a lot of comfort when it comes to that from the production side, which wasn't available anymore. With that being said, I'm able to work through it and work past it, and now I have a good grasp on it.
Yeah.
So like anyone else, I would think it's just a matter of getting involved in the new process and seeing that it's going to work.
Exactly. And this new staff that's running the event, Carrie Thomas, is looking at it from an efficiency standpoint. I mean, it's 2:30, we're done.
Well, that's the thing. And if you look at it from the efficiency standpoint, first shots are, promptly at 8 a.m.
Yep, or earlier.
And the last shots are promptly, last strings of fire begin at 11:45, and they have hit the number across the board. It's almost a little bit unnerving at noon to be looking around going, well, that's it for day 2. Hope we got it.
But there's vision in it.
Yes, I agree.
In the sense of, okay, this is what we can handle right now. And I spoke with Carrie this morning. They can handle 380 competitors, and that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
So that's the big question. How do you grow this match? How do you get more people here?
I think the key component the answer is always the grassroots. Mm-hmm. It's always getting people out to the range. I like to tell people, as shooters, we're really great in the room. We're really good at helping each other out. Like, once you get to the range, somebody's going to give you equipment. Somebody's going to help you. You're going to have everything you need. Our challenge is getting people to the room.
Exactly right.
And so I think that we need to have a more concerted effort at the local level and really build up our regional programs, so in our regional events, so that people are like, oh, yeah, instead of instead of doing this weekend, maybe I'll go shoot an action pistol regional, so they can get their feet wet and give it a try. And so that way, when they come to Bianchi, maybe it's not their first time.
Sure.
And having that overwhelming, like, oh my gosh.
Well, there are a handful of other NRA action pistol events around the country. One, the Crawfish Cup down in Louisiana, is a big one, a very successful one.
It is.
Set up for April, happens as kind of a lead up to this event.
Great
but I
one.
think that might be a bit of the challenge for clubs to put this match on, and that is the infrastructure necessary to host these 4 events, being a mover, falling plates, 50 yards to do practical, things like that. I don't think it's insurmountable, but I think it is a bit of a challenge.
I think one of the things that would be very helpful from the action pistol world standpoint from the NRA is if we came up with a smaller course, a short course.
Yes.
To get your feet wet.
Yes.
Something that was official, and that, you show up to the match and maybe you're unclassified, or maybe you're an expert, or maybe you're a sharpshooter and you're not really comfortable shooting at 50 yards or 35 yards or whatever. And you do this as I'll just shoot the short lines. And maybe we come up with a reduced target size for indoor ranges so that you can shoot Bianchi in an indoor range. If you've got 25 yards, guess what? You can go shoot Bianchi. So we have to think about all of these things so that when people have an option, let's face it, we got 17 million CCW holders. These are people that drop them holster.
Yep.
And this is a sport that doesn't require you to run and gun, which makes a lot of people nervous.
Yep.
This is just you and a perfect score if you want to try to shoot it, improve your accuracy. It's a really, really neat thing along the way.
I agree. And there are a number of other things that we can touch on, but one of those is a conversation that Phil Strader and I had yesterday on how to expand this match. And one of the answers, or one of the ideas, may be additional divisions. And this plays into the gun that he's chosen to shoot in this match, the compact gun, which he's frankly doing very well with.
He is. He's
but
great.
In conjunction with that conversation, he also brought up the idea of a shorter course version of this match.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of opportunity there. It's funny. I've been working with the Performance Center on their Facebook page to come up with a series of drills for that super entry-level person. So I've told them all you need is a couple of paper plates. Draw a 4-inch X-ring in the middle.
Sure. And
here's a guideline. We're going to start with something that's practical-ish. The timeline's very liberal. It gives you a lot of opportunity to figure out, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. Get into the groove of it so that you're like, okay, this is how this works. So that when you show up to your first monthly match, it's going to be, okay, this is a little harder, but it's not so hard.
Brilliant. There are... with regard to the idea that maybe more divisions is a way to get more people here. Shortening the course makes guns like the one that Phil has chosen, or, for instance, the Smith & Wesson Shield, something like that, a perfectly valid choice. Something that would attract somebody who is a concealed carry permit holder, somebody who carries on a regular basis. Here's a way to hone your skills in a competition environment that was derived from law enforcement self-defense training, if you will.
Absolutely.
What do you think, because I've gotten mixed reactions, what do you think about the idea of letting people shoot this match with pistol caliber carbines?
I think you'll see a lot of perfect scores, frankly.
Yeah.
So, it could be good, but I think that there's a place for that. And it doesn't really jive with the pistol caliber thing. I mean, we really don't have a precision sport for pistol caliber carbines at this time. And I don't know as if this is the right answer. Because logistically speaking, how are you going to handle draws? How are you going to... These are all the questions that are popping up in my mind.
Sure.
But it's definitely at the local level. I mean, you should be able to show up with anything.
Well, that's my thought, is it's an exhibition. It's, it's not necessarily for a competition standpoint. I mean, if you grouped everybody together, that could potentially be interesting. I just look at it from the standpoint then more guns on the range means more people on the range, more ammo being fired, and it's a good time for everybody involved.
Well, interestingly enough, at the local club level, we see a huge number of people shoot 22.
Sure.
And there's been talk of bringing the 22 division back here at Bianchi. So if kids and juniors and sub-juniors, there's going to be introduction of a sub-junior and an intermediate junior next year. So they're really looking at ways to encourage people that it makes a lot of sense. You know, this sport is very simple. It's straightforward. It's very, very challenging, but it makes a lot of sense.
So just so I have an understanding, because I don't know, how does it work with regard to being a member of the NRA board? And to what extent is the NRA board involved with the NRA's competition committee? Is that sort of overlap? How does that work?
Sure. Each committee reports to the board at every session.
I
So all of the updates, the rule changes, all of these things get presented, and any questions, concerns, and that sort of stuff is brought up to the general board of 76 members. My role specifically, I haven't been assigned to any committees yet. I'm a new NRA board member, in case anybody doesn't know.
Folks know. If they watch this video podcast or listen to us, they know that.
Yeah.
But yes,
But
that's the root of the
assigned.
question.
Yeah. So I've requested to be on the Action Pistol Committee because I think it's naturally a very good fit.
I think it's an excellent fit, yes.
But we'll see how that goes and what have you. But no matter what, I plan to be involved at the committee level so that I can at least say, hey, guys.
Yeah.
You
Speaking from somebody who has experience in it, speaking from somebody who does it, speaking as somebody who has been a champion in these sports, I mean, a very valid position for you to be speaking from, I would say.
I would think.
Have you been paying attention to any of the action in the match?
I have not, and I was excited to come in today because I've been total tunnel vision, just focusing on my game, just to try to get back into this and work on my own personal goals. So I'm curious to hear.
Well,
what the news is.
It's not for me to necessarily spill the beans out here, but it is an interesting race in the open division with members of the Army Marksmanship Unit.
I would think so.
Holding top position in terms of X count now among the handful of shooters that are clean with a chance to win this match. Yeah, so you're looking at Mike Gasser, 3 X's ahead of Doug Koenig after 3 events of the match, both of whom will finish their match on the mover. The interesting little side piece to this story is that Adam Sokolowski, also of the Army Marksmanship Unit, was squatted completely separate and in a different order of events. So his first event was his mover. And we unfortunately had an overlap of other shooters during his mover, so I don't have video of it, but I have a direct account from him after. And it was clean, and he thought he had 41X. Well, the official score is actually 39X for the mover, which is still a great score, but there's a few missing there. So he is sitting in clean now with mover
and
practical and barricades done as of today. So plates for him to finish tomorrow, but he is sitting 3 X's back of Doug and a total of 6 X's back of Mike Gasser. So an interesting finish awaits, and it really hinges on the performance of the lead 2, because there are a handful of others, and there's Richard Siebert is going to be there as well from Australia, and Mark Blake from Australia is also going to be there. So, and again, those guys are just literally 1X behind each other. So it's like a lineup of absolute killers just waiting to go. So it'll be an interesting finish tomorrow on the mover, as it always has been, with the caveat that Adam has already shot his mover. So following that, making that happen, that's essentially going to be the third segment of the show. So.
Wow, that's exciting.
I
told you.
I know you told me. You gave me the tip. You definitely gave me the tip.
You watch those Army boys.
I knew. It was an interesting thing also this afternoon to just spend a little bit of time in their new gunsmithing trailer. With Nelson and the other fellow whose name has escaped me, that are their 2 traveling gunsmiths. And Command Sergeant Major is there, and it's a very nice thing. They are not only in support of the soldiers shooting the match, but they are also in support of any of the competitors who might need their assistance, and they have professional equipment and so on to service anybody who should have some kind of an issue with a firearm, which I think is very cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. Excellent stuff. So the Bianchi Cup rolls on. 40 years.
40 years.
That is amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing.
And from a mathematical standpoint, Doug has been here winning this thing almost half of the time that it has been in existence.
Exactly.
So,
well, it's He shot world championships really hard, so it seems like he's really in it this week. But anything can happen.
Well, that's the thing.
Know.
There is no guarantee in this.
No.
There any one little slip changes everything. And they're calling for the potential of some weather tomorrow. They're looking 40% chance. So. Hopefully not in the morning with this new scheduling. We'll be able to move through it before the heat of the day builds. But it's an interesting thing. Columbia, Missouri this time of year, you never know what's going to happen.
You never know. You never know. There's almost always going to be a Either a thunderstorm or a snowstorm, one of the two.
So or a tornado.
Right.
You know,
Well,
I always drive by that Bass Pro Shop and remember sheltering from a tornado in there. Scary days.
Yeah.
Anything else? Anything that I missed in this very relaxed interview?
Well, it's anything can happen, like you said. I think that this, what are we at? Sitting at 170 competitors, I think it was.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
And definitely from all over the world. So it's exciting. I know that the World Championships bid is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So they're talking about Australia, and there's a brand new range in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're some of your international listeners.
International viewers and listeners. A lot of feedback from the Australians. A lot of the Australians are watching our stuff on the YouTubes.
Have you talked to Craig Ginger about their proposed scoring change?
I spoke with Craig Ginger, and he has an interesting thing thought out. He wanted to pick my brain on it a little bit, and he is of the opinion that this match has become too easy. And I know. So just hold on to that for a moment. This match has become too easy. So in just painting rough strokes here, his proposal is to change the X to the 10 and change the 10 to the 9, and go from there. And so that would require a perfect score to be an actual X'd out 1920 192, which has never been achieved. So from that standpoint, that would be interesting. From that standpoint, it would make my job a lot harder because I wouldn't be able to just quickly look at numbers and say, right, I know these guys are all in contention now and I can disqualify everyone below as I'm trying to figure out who's going to win. That's one aspect that, okay. I think the other aspect is let's not lose sight of the fact that there are only 4 or 5, maybe 6 people here that are going to achieve the 1920 and then dice it up based on how many X's they hit. So I don't think it's the match that's the problem. I don't think it's a problem.
I think that I like the idea because it's neat. And one thing that I do like about it is the fact that if you shoot an 8, you're no longer out of it. Mm-hmm. You've got that, your 10 becomes a 9. So somebody who has a single bad shot isn't there.
It's not the end of the deal.
It's not the end. However, it does make things a lot more difficult. And I don't know if that's the answer. I don't know as if changing the course is the answer at this point in time. But I know that we just got to get people to give it a try because it's addictive.
Well, on one hand, there is the argument that when this match was conceived, a perfect score of 1920 was insurmountable. Nobody would ever do it.
Yeah.
I think that's the same mindset when Mike Dalton, Mike Fishman developed the Steel Challenge courses of fire and said no one will ever break 80 seconds.
Right.
80 seconds is impossible. And for many, many, many years, many iterations of that match, it was thought of impossible.
Yep.
And until it wasn't.
You're right.
But if you look at it from this respect, there are some similarities in that those 4 courses of fire that make up the Bianchi Cup are the same 4 courses of fire. They're measured, they're known.
Yep.
The 8 courses of fire that make up the Steel Challenge are measured and known.
Yes.
And that's what allows the shooters and the equipment to rise to that particular challenge.
Yeah.
In the case of the Bianchi Cup as well as the Steel Challenge, we're drawing a lot of parallels here. There are parallels. There are still only a handful of guys who have ever achieved what once was thought of as impossible. So does the fact that, these outliers exist, in Steel Challenge, we're talking KC, we're talking
BJ,
Max, and BJ.
Yeah, JJ.
JJ if he shows up or trains for it.
Right.
And, there's 4 or 5 guys maybe. Over here in the Bianchi Cup, it's 1, 2, 3 names for sure. Now we've got the new blood from the boys down in Georgia who are working on this thing on a daily, weekly basis.
Exactly.
And then a handful of Australians and maybe an Italian who might dark horse me, or Carl Bernowski who came and shot through.
Yeah.
I don't know if that is enough reason to take that carrot away from all of the other shooters who have been close.
Right.
There are those guys who have achieved, and ladies who have achieved the 1905, the 1908, and then there's that 1916 and the 1918, and it was just, next year, I'll get it next year. I feel like it would be a major blow to that majority of this shooting community to take that away from them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't have the answer. No one does.
No one does, and you got to test it first. I mean, it's just like you can't make a change until you test.
But I will say this. I give the NRA's competition committee a great deal of credit with the fact that they take a survey of all of their competitors after every event, and they actually act on what they've learned from those surveys.
Right.
And I give them tremendous credit with regard to that.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's a very smart thing from a customer service standpoint.
Yes, I would agree with that completely. And I too am excited about maintaining the 1920 as it is because I feel I've got one in me.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe more than one in the future, but not this week.
This episode of the Shooting USA podcast, not necessarily brought to you by Monster Energy, in that Monster Energy didn't pay or anything else. I paid for that
So you paid
at
full
Steve-O's
price.
gas station. They gave me 2 of them for $4. I felt like it was a decent deal.
That's a good deal.
It's charging me now. It's allowing me to carry on this conversation because, Julie, it has been a true pleasure. Is there anything I've missed?
No, I think we've got it all. I think I think tomorrow's going to be super exciting.
Yes.
I think you need to rest up
No.
because it's going to be crazy. And
But
your guys are working hard.
I do. I have
Right.
got the boys out there. This is, and again, we are constantly evolving how we do this. I've done this thing with 6 cameras. I've done it with 4 cameras. I'm trying to do it this time with 3 cameras. There's never enough cameras.
No.
So,
No.
it's one of those things.
Yeah,
But we will make a quality television product as we always do.
as always.
Awesome, Julie. Thank you for the time. What a wonderful experience.
Likewise.
I hope you all are enjoying the special edition podcast from the Bianchi Cup. I've got a couple more scheduled for today. The great one, Rob Latham, is expected here momentarily. And later, Rob Vidaz from the U.S. Border Patrol. He'll be joining me. But for now, Julie and I are saying stay tuned.